Good evening, everybody. I'm just triple checking that this is actually live inside the group before we get started. Yeah, it's telling me it's live. So welcome everybody to, this is the second one in February, or is it the first one in February?
The second one.
Second one, yeah. And this week we've got Ella coming on. Ella is one of the team here at Fit for Lead Gen. She used to work for Voucher, and she's going to talk to us a little bit more about how she made over $1 million in sales for Voucher while working there. So Ella, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
If you are watching along, do comment below. Keep us updated with what your thoughts and questions are. Just literally put them in below and we can pick those up. So we've got Amy. Good evening, Amy. How are you? You okay? Amy Portal member as well. Okay, so I think Ella, I'll hand it over to you.
Sure.
And we will just dive straight in.
Okay. So welcome everyone. So a little introduction about me. I worked for Voucher for about a year, just over a year. And what I did was I helped clients receive free marketing to over our 20 million subscribers. I was mainly based in the Southwest, so that's who I targeted: restaurants in the Southwest, hotels in the Southwest, anything to do with being in the Southwest, which is Bristol, Wales, Bath, etc. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about how I managed somehow to generate 1 million for Voucher. So a little bit about me. So I worked for Voucher as a business consultant, and before I worked for Voucher, I studied music at Bath University. I'm only 23 and still managed to generate 1 million for Voucher. I know the importance of standing out, like your deals standing out, your programs, everything like that. So how did we get the clients? It was all about research. So much research. Half of our days was basically full of admin, where we were finding the best restaurants that were nearby and then finding their competitors as well. We would try to make 10 attempts at contact, and that's what I always recommend to you guys and to anyone else I speak to who's trying to do sales calls, trying to get into sales, is don't stop at the 5th go, just keep trying. Obviously don't do it every single day, but try different ways as well, potentially getting through to them through social media, emails, giving them a call, anything like that. Follow-up emails are so important. As soon as we would get off the phone with a client, we would send that email straight away. Make sure it's got all the information that they've asked for. Don't leave anything out. And one thing we did, obviously at the minute with COVID, and when we were working, COVID was around as well, we couldn't do it face-to-face meetings, but we would try and do Zoom meetings as well. But we would always try to get meetings where we would go and visit their premises and we would talk through them then, and it usually would always give us a deal. So that was great. Right, does anyone have any questions so far? I'll leave it for a second.
There is like a 10-second delay in what we say and what actually appears on Facebook.
Well, I'll go through this one and then I'll come back and see if there's any. So I know probably all of you have heard of Voucher. And before I started working for Voucher, I would look at it and think, why would anyone want to work for Voucher? Because you would always think the deals were not going to be very good because of how cheap they were. So you thought, oh, it's just people that can't really sell their products. But why people worked for us was we had over 20 million subscribers. We had 200,000 active subscribers in the Southwest. And what I mean by active subscribers is that we know that they were constantly checking their emails. So every day we would send out emails to our customers and we knew how many were opening them. And we would also get rid of dead subscribers as well. So people who were not checking their emails anymore. We helped quite a few clients out of selling their business. So we had a few clients who were potentially going to sell their business due to the fact of becoming bankrupt, or they just weren't generating enough anymore. But we helped them get their name back on the map and thankfully helped them get out of that. And now they're still going. So what can I say? One of the great things about working for us as well is you would potentially receive forever customers. So if you worked in a restaurant, it was most likely that 50% of the customers we sent you were going to return. So they would be forever customers and you generate more money as well. And the main thing is we had no costs up front, so we just took a small portion of every promotion, and that covered our costs. Right, any questions? No, I guess I'm just not that kidding. Okay, so why would I work with Voucher? So a lot of people would come back at us once we sort of gave our pitch and would say, you want me to reduce my prices by 50% and then take 25% on top of that? Because if you've looked on Voucher before, you can probably see that a lot of the deals are 50% off. So our clients would have to reduce their prices by around 50%. And then we would take a portion, so it could be 25% on top of that as well. So 25% off the selling price. The amount you'd actually reduce, so what we would say to our customers is the amount they'd actually reduce from their deal price would be less than marketing. So if they wanted to potentially do like what we do with Facebook ads, or they wanted to pay for marketing and pay for Google ads and things like that, it could potentially cost them less than if they wanted to work with us. And like I said in the last one, 50% of our customers are likely to return. And if they made no sales, so if their deal just was not successful at all, then neither do we. We wouldn't generate any money from it. It'd be a bit annoying, but once again, we wouldn't take any money from them. So the small clients, they were our most important and easiest, and that would be sort of our restaurants or our beauty salons and things like that, because a lot of the time they did sell quite a few deals. And just because the price was a bit lower, it helped generate so much for Voucher. So, and they were also easiest to get back on. And usually it would just be one phone call, like, do you want to set up another deal again? And they'd say yes. So it was ideal, which was restaurants, beauty deals. Adding incentives so the deal stands out. So what we would do is usually if we said to a customer, we want to do 2-course dining with a glass of wine, they would say, well, that's a lot of money for me. So what we would do is add in something that would be less money for them. So for example, we'd tell them to give the glass of wine as soon as they sit down. So it's going to be likely that that customer is going to order another drink, which means they would get more money, which they wouldn't have got if we didn't send the customer to them. With our small clients, what I'd advise is we were always checking in when the deals were running, making sure that they were receiving their money, make sure they were happy with how the deal was running, make sure there was any changes. And as I'm sure all of you know, returning clients are the best clients. Let's have a quick look. Okay, and then our big clients. So what we would usually focus on is we'd focus on getting 20 small clients and then talk to 2 big clients as well. With our big clients, we really had to research into our clients to make sure that we were speaking to the right people, because it would take a long time if we were speaking to, I don't know, the CEO of Frankie and Benny's and we wanted to get in touch with them. It would be absolutely impossible. So we had to do so much research to find out who the best person was. And I mean, the best thing for me was LinkedIn. It was just the easiest way to find everyone. We don't usually plan our scripts. A lot of the time we were speaking to small clients, we would really just go off the back of our hand. But with our big clients, we really had to plan it out to make sure that we knew what they were up to, if they were like a restaurant or a hotel, if they've got any news, and talk to them like we were talking to a friend. And it takes a lot of time to sign up our big clients. We would have ones, for example, we signed Pure Gym, and it took, I think, about 4 months to get them over the line, because they can be wanting to make sure that they get the most out of the deal. But like all the advice, it takes time, but you just can't really give up. And another thing we did to get our big clients is we did reduce pricing for big clients. So that could be that we reduced how much they could give us. It wasn't always 50% off, but so they could maybe do 30% off, but we would also lower our percentage that we would take as well. So my top 2 deals, the 2 that made me the most money for Voucher, was ironically a dog festival. We're not really sure why, but our demographic for Voucher was, you know, middle-aged ladies. So dog festivals was something that they just absolutely loved. The reason that we actually signed the deal was because I did the meeting in person, and it was very difficult to get her to sign overall. We had to make, I think, about 10 changes to the deal before she could actually say yes. So, but I knew that it was going to be a really, really good deal. So never say no unless it was completely impossible. We added extras to increase price but reduce costs. So one of the things we added to make sure that she was getting back enough was, I think we added in like a doggy bag, which just had some doggy treats in it, which she was getting from her sponsors anyway. So that we added in and put it as £5, which means the deal went up, but she wasn't losing any more money. And if anything, she was getting more back. And then one of the main things was we offered her front page of Voucher Bristol, Voucher Bath, Voucher Southwest, and main page on all our socials, and the first deal with the emails. So like I said before, we sent out emails every day, and she was the first deal that went out in the emails. And then my second one was a Christmas tree delivery. Because at the time, this was actually just before I left Voucher, we couldn't have a meeting in person, but we did do a huge amount of Zoom meetings and constant communication, which it took up nearly every single hour of my day, but it was completely worth it in the end. I worked with our CEO at Voucher to find the best deal. So I wasn't always communicating directly through him, but he was going through my manager to make sure that we were happy with the deal. And getting the improvement on the content for socials and our national deal. So our national deal is when it goes throughout everywhere in the UK. It's not just Southwest. Even though they were in the Southwest, we wanted to make sure that because it was a Christmas tree delivery, that it could go absolutely everywhere. So that's what we did. Is there any questions so far? Okay. And then the main bit I'm sure you've all been waiting for is getting our clients over the line. So one thing I'd recommend is what we did like to do is we like to sign our contracts over the phone and obviously the one-to-one meetings, but we did find that our clients thought our contracts were so intense, and that was mainly because they were for our big clients, so they had so much information in them. And a lot of the times our clients would put off signing deals for weeks, if not months, just because they weren't ready or they just couldn't be bothered to read a 10-page contract, which I don't really blame them. So what we used to do is we would schedule in a time to speak over the phone or to meet them in person, just to make sure that if they had any questions that we were right there to assist them. One thing that I did say quite a lot was I gave them my word. Usually I wouldn't do it all the time, but if I knew that they were going to be a really successful deal, then I'd give them words that they could trust me. What do you say, Dave?
Sorry, that's my computer telling me someone's on the website.
Oh, okay. So we also gave them a clear understanding of what they should expect. So if we didn't think the deal was going to work too well, we would constantly tell them, you know, we can't guarantee that this is going to generate a lot, but we will constantly make sure that we're checking in with you to help you in any way and potentially change up the deal. But a lot of the times we did have really stubborn clients who would just not care and would not be happy about taking 50% off, but we really needed to get something signed with them. But you know, they didn't really generate a lot, but that's why we like to tell them what they should expect. One thing that we always needed to remember is these clients need us more than we needed them. So it's the same with the gyms. Like, even though you do want your clients, you know that if they were interested in the first place, they are going to be 100% more. They need you a lot more than you need them. So we would always say that to ourselves, especially when our clients messaged us all the time. We knew that it was because they needed us. And yeah, one of the main things that we actually found worked really well is, like I said before, if we were working with a restaurant and they were just struggling to sign the contract, we would usually ring them up and be like, oh, you know, the restaurant next door, oh, well, we've actually spoken to them and they're happy to do this deal. So I just wanted to let you know in case you wanted to sign now, because they're going to be front page tomorrow. And honestly, it was the most incredible thing because they would just sign straight away. It was great. So this is just the last thing before we take any question, guys. We know that making a sale isn't always easy, but with some dedication and practice, I promise you'll perfect it in no time. Trust me, I know. If you guys want to sort of watch this again, make sure you do make some notes, rewind. Now, if you enjoyed, we have just launched our web design and management service. And we'd love you guys to come and join if it would be something you're interested in. We can take the stress and confusion completely off your hands of web designing and updating it when you think it needs to be. So to celebrate the launch, we're actually removing the setup fee for the first 5 that join. So I'll just give you a bit of the information here. You can have a bit of a read through because it's a bit long, but yeah, it's a really great website design course if you guys do want to join. But like we said, there's no setup fee, and we can talk about payment plans and things like that as well. And like it says at the bottom, any changes, updates, and improvements you need, we can get them done in less than 48 hours, and you have my word on that one. So if you're interested, then here's all the information you need. Obviously, rewind this if you need it. You can always message me, Dave, Willow, Holly, Elsie, and we can get back to you about more information on that as well. And yeah, this is just for if anyone's got any questions, just fire them in, and we'll get back to you really.
So just going over what Ella was saying, like trying to take out what she said from Voucher to how we can implement this in our fitness business. Like Voucher was telling them you had to reduce your price to 50% off. So this is all about creating the right offer to present to your prospects.
Yeah.
So the right offer, the right hook. So we at the gym do 6 weeks. We've got people that do 28-day. We've got people that do a 3-day pass. We've got people that do 12-week. You need to have the offer, create the offer that most entices the user to, or the prospect to want to take up this this offer you got. So Voucher was like 50% off, or like you said, the main course and a glass of wine or whatever it was. That was the hook. That was the offer to get people to want to cross that line. So we in our fitness business need to definitely have a hook or offer. Ella then started talking about doing the research needed to chase after the prospects themselves. And again, it's the same for us. If we want to work with over 40 guys that want to really pack on some serious muscle, we need to be researching what's going on in their head, what's going on in their life, what's going on at work and all this stuff. So when we do present the offer, when we're creating the social media content, when we're creating all this extra stuff, we're talking specifically to those people.
Yeah.
Ella mentioned the no sale follow-up, massively important. If someone says no to you, it doesn't mean that deal is off. It doesn't mean they're not going to purchase your 6-week program or your PT setup or whatever you've got going on. It just means they weren't ready right then to purchase. A follow-up the next day. Hey Ella, I know you came in yesterday. Just want to check in, see if you'd had any additional questions. If they say no, follow up within 2 or 3 weeks. Hey Ella, just want to check in again. I know it's been a few weeks. Maybe you've had a chance to think about it. I'd love to invite you down for a week's free pass or something. Because again, going back to the hook or offer, anything to try and entice them in that little bit more. So Ella was saying sometimes 50%, they could come down to maybe 40% or something, or change it up a little bit just to close that sale and to cross that line.
Yeah.
Incentives to cross the line. We've done this quite a lot at DK9 Fitness, especially our 6-week program is 159 and they're umming and they're ahhing and they're not 100% sure. So what we'll say is, you know what, we'll make it 8 weeks for 159 because we know once they're in, once they've crossed that line, then we've got them for the long term. So incentives, what else can you do to help just get that sale over the line? And then the last one, obviously you couldn't do that with your last client, but contact, do face-to-face stuff wherever you can. It will make such a big difference. If you're selling online, make sure you do a Zoom sales session. They can see you, they can visualize you, they get to know you much quicker, so it's easier to do that. This is why we at Fit Pro Lead Gen do this, because we want you. Oh, that's just you. We get both of us. We want you to get to know us, to like us and trust us, so eventually one day you might reach out and see how you can potentially work with us. So they're the takeaways I took from Ella. I'd love to know what takeaways you have, or even if you're having a takeaway tonight because you can't be able to cook, let us know below. But yeah, let us know and we'll answer some questions now. We'll give it 2 or 3 minutes to answer some questions. I can see there is a question. Who is the question?
I'm a PT and I run a group class. How can I implement these ideas? Well, it's mainly about sort of the ideas that we've just spoken about, it's mainly about if you can't really get your client over the line, or what to sort of do if you're having a difficult client, or just, it's hard to explain really. But the way to implement the ideas is just sort of what Dave said, his takeaways from it is just to make sure that they are your friends, that like with the research, it's just to make sure that when you have a chat with them, that it's a really thoughtful chat and you're really listening to everything they're saying and listen to every aspect. If they talk about their dog, make sure to mention their dog. Like it's unbelievably important to just have a chat and follow up all the time and just do exactly what Dave said, really.
Yeah, exactly what Ella was saying. Like when you do consultations, even if it's on a scrap piece of paper like this, where you just take some random notes, write it all down, because you never know further on down the line, like, oh, I'm not sure about the price. And then you can go back, oh, didn't your partner say that he was going to buy you a new handbag or something if you lost some weight, or you were going to have, you can get into your better clothes when you go on holiday if you lose this additional weight and stuff. Those are the things that you can come back at them with.
Yeah.
So it really is a case of making notes, becoming friends with them, getting to know them so they feel confident enough to trust you. Not 100% sure on saying, oh yeah, the next door neighbor's gonna lose a bit more weight than you, so you best pull your finger out and do something.
No, I wouldn't sort of say that way. But I know, I don't think you could really imply that to working with the gyms, but it works so well when you're a competitor, which isn't physical. But yeah, it did work really well for us, but I wouldn't really use it with the gyms.
No worries, guys. We're going to leave it there. Obviously, if you have any questions, just pop them below. We can get back to you tomorrow or something like that, because it is 20 to 8 here in the UK. I think Ella's off to bed. And
that's right.
Speak to you all tomorrow at some point.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.